The Alberta dairy industry is made up of 500 producers, each one of them with a unique business plan, but each one of them committed to the value of supply management. And it's that commitment to stick together to defend our Canadian system that will keep the Canadian industry and the Alberta industry strong for many years to come. This year, I believe the board took on many challenges. And, one of the observations that I made recently is that it was easy to govern and chair the board during the years where we had consistent quota allocations. It was much more challenging to be your chair this year with all the dynamics that was going on.
I have been general manager of Alberta Milk for the past 10 months. You can't direct the wind, but you can adjust your sails. And so I would say this past year, there's been so many adjustments for the dairy industry. And so starting off, first of all, internationally with COVID-19, and that's impacted everyone. On March 17th, we made the hard decision to close the Alberta Milk office to the public. The staff have been amazing through the change in terms of taking on the challenge and working hard, finding innovative ways to get things done. And so I am really proud of our team and also of our board. We went to meeting weekly to deal with COVID-19, and that's a huge sacrifice that our board members make in terms of being away from their farms. It's always challenging to be a board member, but doing that in a global pandemic, to me, deserves some very special recognition. So I would say this past year, there's been so many adjustments for the dairy industry. And then nationally with CUSMA, with the Canada, US, Mexico trade agreement, especially with that coming in earlier, that was a big adjustment for the industry. And now so figuring out what does life in that new CUSMA environment look like for all of us, lots of adjusting and learning for us.
Shortly after the American president visited the dairy farm in Wisconsin, dairy became one of his objectives in the new CUSMA deal. And our government agreed to allowing 3.9% market access to American dairy as they concluded this NAFTA negotiation. Being led by Dairy Farmers of Canada, we advocated hard with our federal government to have less impact on our industry.
My name is Jake Vermeer, and I'm a proud first-generation Canadian from Camrose, Alberta. I'm humbled to be given the chance to speak before you today on behalf of an industry that I'm so passionate about. I want to begin by telling you about our farm to help provide you context regarding the people that are impacted by the CUSMA agreement.
And in spite of that effort, we see today that the government has allowed a significant part of our market to be eroded by various trade deals. We're close to 20% now by 2024. The government has promised compensation for this trade impact, but we do want to underscore that that's not our primary objective. Our objective and our desire has always been to service the Canadian market. We need to recognize that we have supply management in this country because 10 provinces believe in the principle of dairy supply management. The positive coming out of this trade negotiation was the fact that Canadians became more aware of the Blue Cow, the Canadian milk quality logo.
We operate in the Canadian market, not just the Alberta market or a Western Canadian market. We need to be thinking of the whole market, and that is a shift for us. Our partnership with Dairy Farmers of Canada is foundational to our work, and what we've done with them, with the Blue Cow, to me, again, is just such a success story. A lot of consumers, as COVID-19 hit, realized the importance of food and also wanting to look for more local food. And so they started to pay, I think, more attention to where their food came from. Consumers' consumption pattern changed significantly. At first it was a big ramp up of dairy products, and then shortly after that, with the restaurant industries either being significantly reduced or closed, that took a huge part of our market away. So then dealing with a surplus of milk and then needing to then, as a result of that, adjust our production on farm.
We had to work with our processors in reducing the supply of milk, and our processors responded quickly to the change in the market reality. They had to pivot from large packaging and food services to the smaller retail packaging, and it took them weeks to make that adjustment. We have for some time now recognized the value of collaboration in the Western Milk Pool.
The Western Milk Pool, to me, that has just been a real strength for us throughout COVID-19. One of the big things that we did was meet weekly throughout COVID-19 to just talk about where are you at from a production standpoint, where are you from what's happening with the markets, how we coordinated with our work with the food bank, how we coordinated just what our on-farm response needed to be, how we were working with the haulers. It was just so great to have 4 provinces working together and to be consistent. How we worked together collaboratively through that has now pushed us forward on how we operate for a myriad of other things, not just related to COVID-19.
As an industry, we recognize that while the impact on COVID-19 was significant, we were still blessed and we could continue to function. And we stepped up and we assisted the local food banks across this country by contributing hundreds of thousands, if not $1 million, to support them. And this was an opportunity for us to give back to our local communities. And we were privileged and thankful that we had that opportunity. You know, I have had the privilege to serve as your board chair for the last 4 years. I want to recognize and acknowledge my appreciation for the board and the directors that I have worked with. Each one of them has brought unique skills to the table, and every one of them very committed to serving our industry with integrity. And I want to thank them for that commitment to serving with a high degree of integrity.
After 19 years, Mike Southwood, who was general manager with Alberta Milk, retired. And so I just want to say thank you to Mike for all his leadership to the dairy industry and to moving Alberta Milk forward through those 19 years.
Frida has embraced the challenges that her first year has presented to her, and I'm confident that Frida will serve us well for many years to come. I'm reminded of a quote from Premier Jason Kenney while he addressed Albertans during the pandemic. In a fierce prairie storm, cattle often get spooked, turn tail and try to run from it, getting separated and lost. But the buffalo, which Indigenous people have always revered as a symbol of life on the prairies, herd closely together and faced the storm head on, coming out of it strong and united. This captures who we are and how we're going to get through this.
I do know that we will continue to serve Alberta's industry, and what I'm excited about is knowing that we do have many great sailors in our industry who do know how to adjust those sails and work with the winds that we get. Some of them will be great winds, some of them will be challenging and cold winds, but they will help move us forward.